Tell me who my guest is today, and tell me why is it that you're interested in the cell phone argument? And you got to look there and
Okay.
talk directly to
I'm
them.
interested in the cell phone argument because I would like to make a difference in the world. I suffered for 8 years.
When you say you suffered,
I was on.
what happened?
I was tracked on my cell phones and
Hold it. We don't talk broad. Who tracked you?
Apple Computer would be one of them.
Okay.
Companies, and I had inventions that were worth billions. And they didn't want to pay for them. I had fraud reports against Apple, but then once I got all of the evidence together, the police showed up like a SWAT team and surrounded our home.
And where were you at then?
I was in Houston, Texas, so it was the HPD.
What year was this?
It was approximately 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I've known about them throttling those cell phones for over 3 years. I've reported it to the FBI. I've tried to report it to the government on several occasions. They're targeting the poor, the blacks, and the Hispanics mainly because they're doing it to the older models. They are not being held accountable for their actions. And this is where this is how come we made amends to come on the show, is to try to educate people so that they're aware of what these corporations are doing to them.
And what year did you say it was again?
It was a couple of years ago.
Now, when you say throttle our phones, what do you mean?
Well, okay, so they can do this at various speeds. They can drain your battery within seconds if they choose to. They can turn your phone off with 100% battery, which I recently ported to the FBI specifically in Texas because I told them 3 years ago that they were selling phones this way by doing this software with their software, which again puts us in danger. That's one of my main concerns. Besides stealing, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous habit.
Okay, but let's stay focused on the ills that they can do to our phones.
Okay.
That's what you were
So
telling us
they're
about.
like very sensitive microphones, and they're very, very accurate. That's why the government is asking to be able to track us on our cell phones without search warrants or without any warrants, because they are so accurate these days. They can pinpoint exactly where you are.
Now, you were talking about the government. Google did not want to help the federal government.
Yeah. Google has some technology, and yeah, they didn't want to help the government. It's amazing that the government stands by these corporations because they don't basically want to help them. As we saw when I just come out of, I was locked up for this, and when I came out of lockup,
You were locked up for this being what?
well, I had inventions that were worth probably billions.
Now, when you say inventions, you mean like
Technology invention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Intellectual properties.
Right.
Okay.
Right. At any rate, I mean, that's not the world's issue. The world's issues are more about what I want to talk about. My issues are different just because I had inventions, but it's the same thing. I mean, stealing from me is the same as stealing from everybody else. It's just they're destroying iPhones for further profits to themselves. That's stealing.
We have a caller. Caller, just hold on 1 second. Give us a second. He put you on without telling us.
Okay.
But since you're here, go ahead, caller.
Yes, I just want to say this. You know, I have no sympathy for people who get in trouble using cell phones. For one reason, and it's a good one.
Call you right back.
For 25 years, people were using the rotary phone. That was good enough. Then they started putting them on the walls. Now, they got all of these phones, 8-year-old kids with cell phones. What do they need them for? Oh, they need them out for the bus. And they don't need phones. And then they get it for them. Let them own it. Don't buy these phones for these young kids.
Do you don't own a cell phone? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no. I own a cell phone. But all I do is take calls and call.
So you don't do no internet or none of that?
Oh, no. That's where they get you.
No, they can get you on with just making calls. You're wrong.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
$45 a month. You know, you're just calling and being called. It's $150 a month to get texting and the internet.
See
And
what he's saying.
that's crazy. Why spend all that money?
What do you say?
Well, okay, so that's not really what the focus of what I'm trying to get across. But I understand your frustration, and I understand that phones should be used as just phones. We didn't sign up for them to track us on phones. We didn't sign on the dotted line that they could sell our information. Okay, we didn't sign up for that they can put cookies everywhere for everything we buy or potentially.
You couldn't expect that? You really telling me that it was all fine and dandy? It's not. You know, if the government could get you, these people are going to get you. They sell all your information, and then you wonder why. Oh man, look, I'm in trouble now. No, you put yourself in trouble. Take all that stuff off, take calls, and call out. That's all you have to do. You don't need the internet. You don't need anything else. All them are not necessities. Necessities are being able to contact people and be contacted.
Interesting.
Right, but when they're shortening the lifespan of a product, okay, that has nothing to do whether you search the internet or not. That's just for further profits to themselves. They throttle the phone so that they slow the phone down so they don't work well. They can also turn the phone off with their software with 100% battery. So we're talking about like the evil part of what they can do.
I don't feel sorry at all for you people, because if they do that, they get a regular phone, put it on the wall. That's all. You don't need one of these to carry around.
I could show you a regular phone that's wiretapped as well. So you're wrong, sir. I'm sorry. I can show you evidence of it.
How do we?
You don't say nothing. You don't say nothing that you're going to be regret later on.
How do we know? Let me ask you something, caller. How do we know our phones are tapped? I'm asking you.
Oh, me? Okay. Well, it's been coming out in the news all over. You could go to watchdog.com.
Hold on, let's give it to him. Give him a chance to write it down. You say go to where?
Watchdog.com. John Simpson.
Okay.
He broke a story about like Alexas and such spying on us. I think that I heard, and I'm not going to be 100% accurate on this, that they wanted even to use Alexa in a murder trial.
What was wrong with just having the regular phones? Nobody needs one of these phones. You know, so I just don't understand it. You get a phone.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what we're trying to achieve, is to get a phone and be able to just use it as a phone.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I'm on the show right now.
Why do people get internet and all of that other stuff?
Right.
Because they're crazy. They want to spend that money. That's nuts.
So when we buy a cell phone, why is it that people don't read those rules and regulations?
Well, when you're doing software updates on your phone, which they can force you to do, I've never signed a software update, they're asking you to agree to doing these types of behaviors to some extent. Not to the extent of what they're being busted for, but they are asking you to sign on the line for an agreement. They will be, in the European Union, they are being busted big time. They are getting fined billions of dollars. All of them. Apple, Google, Facebook, you name it, the European Union's going after them.
Listen, if everybody said no, there wouldn't be any phones.
Well, I mean, hopefully what we can do is bring phones back to being phones. Not listening devices, not tracking devices. Hopefully, that's what we can accomplish. We need to take back our power, all of us as consumers.
I'm 100% with you there.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way. We have to start some type of revolution and say, we want our privacy back. We want to use the phone to make calls in private with whoever we would like to call.
In a perfect world, you're 100% right.
And that's why I'm out here trying to, that's why I'm with this gentleman here and trying to tell the world my story.
Do you know my name?
Okay.
Ziff.
You know what?
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you. I gotta admit, guys. I met this young lady. We're at Rainbow Push is throwing a big convention at the Hyatt Regency. So they got thousands of people there, and like her, all of them got ideas. So I said, come on, do a show, because Naomi's supposed to be here. She's got a book. So I said, why don't I bring them both along? So Naomi is in traffic. And so I say, you come with me. I'm going to make sure I got a guess. And she's got a good guess. Go ahead, Carla. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so
No,
that's
you're
what we're
right.
trying to achieve right now by talking to all of you
You're
viewers,
100%
including
right.
you. Is to
Hold it,
get-
hold it. Let's not talk over each other.
Okay.
I think we're agreeing, but in different ways. That's all. But she's right about just get a regular phone. Don't get anything else. But that's all I'm saying. Get one to call somebody and get one to take phone calls. Period.
But the
Everybody else
problem is
up on
these are very, very big corporations. Google is owned by a company called Alphabet. They have 200 other companies. They put themselves on every think tank. Think tanks are the way that they influence policy. So when you have these huge corporations influencing policies, Google spent the most on lobbying than any other corporation in the country.
Okay.
And then they won't even help the government in the military.
Okay, listen. If everybody said no to Google, you don't think they'd change?
I don't know. We're going to see what we can do.
I'll bet you what, you'll put them out of business if everybody said no.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to let the world know, my story, my knowledge, what I know about what they can do and they can't do. I've been in this for 8 years now. I was arrested, hauled off for this. So, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to inform the world so that we can bring change,
And I agree with you.
And to bring change on, with such large corporations is not going to be an easy play,
Yeah,
It's going to take everybody. It's going to, I can't bring the change. I need people behind me to bring the change.
So let me talk about change right now. This is what I want you to do. I want you to, because our other guest is here, I want to give both of them equal time, 15 each. Tell us, what can we do to stop these corporations from taking our information?
Well, in Chicago, this is where the show only... Okay, so in Chicago, I would suggest...
All over. It's on the internet, too.
Oh, it's on the internet. I would suggest that everyone contacts their congressman about new laws. And that the laws that are in place are followed. Because they're not. The antitrust violations, when companies, just recently, said that... Comcast and AT&T could be, they're going to become a conglomerate. So what happens is that they're so big that there's almost nothing you can do to fight them. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. And so I think that we all need to, contact the government and say, we're tired of being tracked on our phones. We're tired of all of this. We want our freedom back.
And
they're breaking the First and Fourth Amendment by tracking on computers or cell phones. Those are two amendments that should not be broken.
So let me say this here. First of all, I'm going to bring her back because she's got some more information to tell you.
I've got a lot of information.
But I want to hold on to her right now. I want to say thank you.
Okay.
And we got more to go.
Okay.
And I want you to meet someone who has a magazine that she's...
Awesome. Hi.
No, just bring Naomi, move that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, in fairness to her. Let's let her get her
I
time.
can go over there.
No, yeah, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, in fairness to her. Okay, now we have my second guest has come. The women are taking this country over. All
right.
The women are taking the country over, and here's a young lady. This guy be on TV sometimes. There you go. This, let me introduce my guest first of all. Now, you have a very unique name. Say your name for me.
Naima.
Naima, did you hear our conversation with that young lady about the people stealing our information? This is an information show. Here's another young lady that has a show out that has something about communications. She started a magazine overhead. Tell me about your magazine and what is On Air Magazine.
Well, the acronym On Air actually stands for Online Network of Associated Internet Radio Hosts.
Let's see if we can get that. On is for O. Go ahead.
Online Network of Associated Internet Radio Hosts.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And it's an offshoot of our website, which highlights our radio show, The Female Solution, which comes on 7 days a week, and I have 5 wonderful women who work with me in producing excellent shows that are informative, exciting, motivational, inspirational, healing, And every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday, we are on Blog Talk Radio, and we have a very interactive audience, and we call it the Morning Think Tank because we really do address the world's issues. And in addition to these young ladies, we have a number of associated
Who are
hosts.
some of these young ladies? Now, I know Wanda.
You know Wanda Carter.
Carter. Who is this young lady?
And this is B-Love, Betty B-Love. And
Now, tell me what she does.
And she is head of Women Entrepreneurs International. So her show is Women Entrepreneurs International with B-Love. It comes on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Health and Wellness with Beata Robinson. She's out of Florida. She has a show that is geared toward holistic healing. She's a holistic healing coach. And so she's given us some really fascinating information about health and wellness. And that's on Fridays. And then, of course, the next in line is Maika, and it's Let's Talk About It with Maika every Thursday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And she also has a wealth of information. She is author of a calendar, which every day of the year, it's called a 365 Know Your History calendar, and she has amazing facts about our history of every day of the week on this calendar. But she also does a lot of holistic health and healing and wellness.
And who is this?
And this, of course, myself. I am on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. Tuesdays we do a show called Voices of Enlightenment, and that's where we feature some of the other show hosts and radio, TV hosts on the on-air network that really deal with some deep issues of self-evolvement. And so that's what we do on Tuesdays. And on Wednesdays, we address family relations and repairing those relationships. And I have a couple of co-hosts that work with me, Manira Habil and Kareem Hamid. And we do a lot of counseling on the show. Sometimes families that are in crisis, about to have divorce. And so we help them through that process of, if possible, reconstructing the family.
Wow.
And then on Mondays, Higher Learning with Zelda Speaks, and our sister Shalomith Yisrael, who has a show here on Higher Learning on CAN TV. Her radio show, Higher Learning with Zelda Speaks, comes on every Monday, and she does a wonderful meditative session, and then she's had some outstanding guests. We've had some very impactful discussions. This past week we talked about Father's Day, of course, which anytime we talk about yes, so anytime we talk about that, it's a whole history, a dynamic that we have to address and deal with as women, our relationship with our fathers, because that's where everything starts. Good. And then, of course, as you know, Sundays is Wanda, as you know, Wanda Carter, Woman to Woman with Wanda Carter. And she also has the TV show, Woman to Woman. And so this is a takeoff from her show. And she's dealt with, right now we're running a political series on her show. So we've had a lot of elected officials that will be coming on to explain how to actually work this political system, which you know how to do very well.
Oh, I think I do. Let me say something. This young lady, she is so sharp. That's why I wanted to bring her on. And my first guest too, Mrs. Boss, right?
Yeah.
Boss. But I want to talk about what is happening. I know you want to talk about the magazine, but I got an opportunity. I've had two women here. And I want to talk about what is happening. Why are men and women fighting each other? Why is it that women feel this, and justifiably, why is it that women feel right now that it's Me Too movement, this is your chance to get back at men? Or am I wrong in my assessment?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Talk to
the
audience.
The whole earth is going through a shift in consciousness, and there have been centuries of abuse of women. And so, in correcting this, things have to be brought to the surface. Things that have plagued us for centuries, the unspoken sexual assault, the patriarchal system that suppresses our right to creativity and self-expression. So as the earth develops a balance, what has to come to the surface is a lot of the historical abuses, and in some ways men feel a certain fear and resistance, because what happens when this woman who is automatically your inferior and therefore lifts your self-esteem with the idea that no matter how inadequate I am, there's somebody I'm better than. Well, what happens when that no longer exists and you have to look at this equal partner and face your own sense of inadequacy? So that's where the anger is coming from. The fear that this system of an automatic superior-inferior relationship will no longer exist. And now men have to face themselves. They have to face, do I really feel adequate as a human being? Am I really competent? Do I really have the strength inside? It's no longer going to be artificially determined because women have been that person, that entity that would give a man an artificial sense of superiority, and it's not good for men. You know, we need to be truthful about who we are.
Daisy, are you still there? So is the roles going to reverse now? Is that what's going to happen?
That's what men fear. That's why there's resistance, because they fear that women are going to do to them what they did to women. Anybody who has oppressed you always has that fear. And I've explained this several times on the show. It's the same fear when it comes to racial injustice. The fear that what you did to someone else will now be done to you is what makes people resist the idea of equality. And I don't think that's going to happen, but in some ways there has been that swinging pendulum. You look at the court system, and some of these judges are very severe in handing out punishment to men who maybe get behind on their child support or whatever it is. But women, and I'm not saying they're unfair, I'm just saying that maybe some of them feel like they're gonna equal the score now that they have a position of power.
Okay, I gotta ask you this. So Charlie Rose, all of these men who have goodbye, he gone.
It all started with Harvey Weinstein.
How should they vanish forever? Should they be? Is there possible? Are you guys, women, gonna let us redeem ourselves, or is it over?
Well, there has to be an admission of wrongdoing. You know, as long as a person keeps trying to insist that they've been misunderstood or whatever excuse, there can be no healing of the hurt. You have to admit that there was some wrong done, that you just did not have an evolved state of consciousness where you realized you had hurt someone, but you can't act like it was okay. It wasn't okay. And I don't think punishment in terms of, okay, now we want you to suffer, that doesn't solve the problem. But what does solve the problem is perhaps them then teaching the younger generation of men, we did wrong, we didn't know better, we want you to be better men. That's how they can redeem themselves.
Say your name one more time. You got a hard name.
Naima Latif.
Latif.
And you know, and I tell people in Illinois, look, if you can say Blagojevich, you can say that.
Speaking of which, Miss Boss, we appreciate you. We're gonna bring you back, and Miss
Naima Latif. See, I get to say my name many times, so y'all can remember it. Naima Latif. So now, if you hip to John Coltrane, you know the name Naima, because there's a beautiful song I like to think of as my theme song.
We're gonna have to play it one day. If a task once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be nice to women, or you're gonna have to pay for it later. If a task once begun, never leave it till it's done. Bit the label, big or small. My mom always say, do it well or not at all. We do have a situation with men and women in this country, and hopefully we can work together, rebuild this country, and move forward. I think Naima.
Yes.
And I think Mrs. Boss. Got to bring both of them back again, especially this magazine.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
thank you, Richard H. We thank you too. Good night, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.